Hey Postables, you're listening to Deliver Me a Podcast, brought to you by Kaycee, Jess, and Kami.
A special thanks to James Jandrish for letting us use the music on our show.
Now, sit back, relax, grab a yoo-hoo and a stamp collection, and here we go.
Postables and Hallmarkies, welcome back to Deliver Me a Podcast. Kami and I are so excited to be chatting with our new best friend, Karen Schaler. Karen, welcome to the podcast.
Oh, thanks, you guys. I am so excited to talk to you. I love what you do. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, we love what you do.
I know. And I'm so glad we get this chance to connect because we were not able to meet you in person at RomaDrama just because we were just all over the place. And I know I saw you and I did a quick wave. I was like running by. So
it was so much fun. It was so much fun, but it was the same, and it's like, there's so many people you hope to make connections with, but it was really about, as you know, meeting the fans and you want to be there for them. And I know you had so many fans, you guys, that lined up to see you. And you were sharing a little right before we went on that you were surprised because you consider yourselves more behind the scenes, but you're not. You're part of the family. You're bringing our stories to life and actors and writers and giving us a voice. And you both have amazing careers on your own. So I'm glad you're being recognized, and honored for who you are. It was so much fun and such good energy there. I think the fans at RomaDrama, the actors, I was there as a screenwriter and a novelist.
Right.
It's just such a good feeling, right? And next time we have to all go out and have, a Christmas cocktail or hot cocoa, whatever, depending on where we are.
Yes. That sounds like a plan. I am here for it. And then, we're definitely going to have to meet at the next RomaDrama, do all the things, all the hugs, just talk. It'll be great.
So good.
We'll get our Shirley Temples, right, Kaycee?
Yeah.
Yes. I love it.
Yes. Well, you have an incredible background. I mean, when I was just reading your bio and just researching and looking at the things you've done, I mean, you did investigative journalism, you're a screenwriter, you write novels. I mean, that's first of all, as somebody who loves writing and reading and like research, I'm just like, whoa. But we'd love to hear a little bit more of your backstory. Was this something you've always wanted to do as a child? Was like writing something that was always in you, journalism? What was young Karen like?
Oh, that's so scary. young Karen. Well, I'll start with as all of the people that know me for even a second know, and you guys have learned, young Karen is the same as let's say old Karen, but older Karen is that I love telling stories. And I will tell you my mom's favorite story. My mom's shy. You wouldn't think, we were related, but she does love telling the story. When I was 2 years old, she was in the grocery store and, I'm sitting in the little basket and she's, driving along and she's in the checkout line. And the lady in front of her turned around and said to my mom about me, "Does she ever stop talking?" And my mom said, "Only in her sleep." And that's pretty much summarizes, the situation of I'm an only child. And so my mom said I started telling stories about the same time I started talking. My mom was a school teacher, so she read a lot to me. And she said, I didn't do words, I did sentences. And it's funny, I saw one of those baby books the other day and I can't remember. I'm right in the middle of writing about 3 different projects right now, but I'll have to get it for some time because it's so funny, but it says my first phrases. And one of them was like, "You got to be kidding." It was like this whole phrase. You know what I mean? Like it's funny. I think I missed my calling. I should have been a comedian according to this baby book. But my mom said I started wanting to tell stories. And again, it was just my mom and I, growing up, and my mom and dad were divorced when I was young. So I'd see my dad, but not, as often. And so my mom said I would like read a ton and then I'd want to like stand up and like make up stories and just imaginary stories anywhere I went, or I'd see people and start telling stories about them, or there'd be stories about my dog. There was just always, and so she really did a great thing. She got me a little Dear Diary. I'm dating myself for those of you that know, but it's actually, I think it said diary on it back in the days before journals. And I think it was 3rd grade. I started writing every single day. And that's, how old is that, you guys? 7 or 8 years old? But I would get home.
3rd grade is 8.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'd get home and I'd write. And I read one the other day because I thought it was so funny, but it was like, I like Bobby. He has a nice shirt and a nice smile. The next day is, I don't like Bobby. He was mean to Tammy. Tammy is nice. They were fairly simple. But sometimes there was drama. It wasn't just be like, I was also observing colors of shirts and giving details. And it was always relationships. And, any writing teacher will tell you, whether you're writing movies, novels, audio projects, whatever, that it's about the character and that you want to see character growth and a character journey. And so I think I've always been drawn to people's stories. So the funny part was, when I was very little, my mom and grandma, they read a book every day, still to this day. My mom reads all my books before they come out and helps me edit. And I have professional editors, but she's kind of the one to go, not really sure about that. Or didn't she say the dog was wearing a red sweater? Now he's in a blue sweater, So she's great because she loves reading romantic comedies, And I think when I was little, I joked that because they had their nose in a book, if I wanted attention, I was going to be a writer. So I could be like, hello, over here, read, look, because that's like a joke. But I knew I wanted to be a writer. And I took some creative writing classes, very young, even in middle school, where, you could do those little stories. And the reason I ended up shifting from wanting to be a novelist, didn't even at that point, I loved television and movies, but didn't even have in my mind screenwriting, at that very young age. I thought, okay, my mom reads books, I'm going to do that. And I remember turning in this big project I was so proud of. And the teachers even called my mom in to say I had this natural ability, yada, yada, yada. But the bottom line of the story was, while I got an A in all the creative and all of that, I got a C- because I had some spelling errors and a couple commas were missing. And I was, as a kid, I was like, that's not fair. That's not fair. I did everything. Okay, there was a comma, and it really made me mad. Yeah. And so I realized as I went forward, I write as fast as I talk. It's how I've been able to do, I did 4 movies and 3 novels in a couple years. And it's because I do quickly. And so I remember also thinking, I looked at novelists. This is now that I'm 10, 11 years old, 12 years old, starting to research. I was a researcher even then. And I started seeing that, they have these fascinating lives. And how do you tell your stories? You draw from experiences. I didn't have a fascinating life. It was just me and my mom. We're just in little old Washington State, little Everett, Washington. Nothing went on. I was a gymnast, had a dog. That's about it, guys. And I remember thinking, I got to see the world. I got to travel. And so I combined it all together and decided that I wanted to be a foreign war correspondent because I wanted to go to third world countries and tell stories of people that this is literally, I said this when I was 11, that didn't have a voice. I wanted to travel and see things. And I knew then I'd have stories. So my grand plan was I would be a journalist because guess what? As a reporter, you didn't have to write it down and get judged. All you had to do is say it. Nobody was taking off points if I misspelled something.
Right.
So I
take a reporter for you.
Yeah. So I'm like, hey, this was obviously before spell check and, things. Yeah, again, dating myself. No Grammarly. There was no Grammarly. I'm totally dating myself there. But at that point, I also thought I'd see the world. So I literally wrote down when I was 12 that I had a plan. I was always going to be a writer. So back to your question, Kaycee, never thought that I wouldn't be a writer. I was born that way. I feel like it's in my blood. I couldn't have not been a writer. I didn't know how to not tell stories. It's just really the fabric of who I was. But deciding what lane to go in, which makes it really interesting of, why I'm able to, I think, adapt now. So when I went into TV news, I thought I would tell human interest stories and, ultimately be a foreign correspondent, live in foreign countries and, do all these kind of stories that mattered and made a difference. When I got in high school, I met some folks that were in the military and had military families. So I was very fascinated by that. And that's why I thought a war correspondent, we should tell those stories. And so at the time I wanted to go to Cal State Fullerton. I was living in Washington State. Cal State was a great school, actually top in communications, Kaycee, specifically broadcast journalism, communications, but it was out of state and didn't have the money for out of state tuition. And so I remember they said, well, how am I going to do it? And I said, you got to go your senior year of high school so you can get residency. So when I was 17, I left home. I didn't know anybody, but my counselor found me a family that I could live with in Calabasas, very wealthy family where I would watch their 2 kids. Now keep in mind, only child here. So that was it. But they actually said they even said, we don't need a nanny. We need someone that's very driven because our boys are kind of failure to thrive. They're they're entitled, they have a good life, they're little boys, but they wanted to see someone that was ambitious and would study and help them with their study habits. So I was really going to be an educational tutor. That was kind of the idea. And so that was kind of the plan. And then I got into, the communications program at Cal State Fullerton, which was broadcast journalism. And I took a screenwriting class because I loved movies. I mean, movies were like my heart and my escape. And, I didn't watch TV shows as much when I was younger, like in the college. I mean, of course, I watched General Hospital, I mean, hello, the soap opera was very popular when I was in college, and it still is popular. But yeah, there were a couple of things like that. And, I watched some of the sitcoms and things, but I was really drawn to movies and that overarching storytelling. So went in as a journalist thinking that I could do human interest, and got kind of the lead story of the day is usually what you call a hard news reporter. And so you get the first story, but it's usually the saddest. So it's those crime stories, it's those sad stories. So I don't know how, but I got on that trajectory where next thing you know, I'm an undercover, I'm a crime reporter, I'm, covering the saddest of the most horrifying stories of the day. I was the first embedded journalist in Bosnia when we sent ground troops into Bosnia. I was a month with ground troops. I was the first ever in the world embedded with an Apache helicopter unit in Afghanistan. And so, but I always looked for the human story. I didn't like the political side. I had a double major. My other major was communications, broadcast journalism, and sociology. That was trying to blend that diversity and to try to tell bigger stories. And next thing I know, years were flying by. And when you're a journalist like that, you don't get vacation time. And I was an anchor in different markets at CNN. I worked some time, covering the White House in Washington, DC. You're just all in, work. And what my escape was watching these Christmas movies. My birthday is December 19th. I loved Christmas. I always dreamed of the Christmas with the families and the kind of things we see on, these beautiful Hallmark, Netflix, Lifetime movies. I didn't have that just because I left home at 17. So during college, I worked Christmas. So I didn't get to have a come home at Christmas. I'd come home in January and I'd get together with my mom and we'd have our own little Christmas celebration. But I think that I dreamed of the things I wanted Christmases to be. A lot of people guess because of my movies and books that I had these dream Christmases. And it's kind of not to say the opposite, because I was very blessed that I had family that loved me. And that's really what matters the most. But I didn't have the beautiful white twinkle lights and the decorations and the baking. I didn't have those things. And so I would use that as I called it my Christmas therapy. I would watch it nonstop. So I'm getting to the fast forwarding. So I did, many years of a career doing that. I was just back from Afghanistan and I just had this life choice to make. I felt like I wanted to inspire and empower people with my storytelling. And news was changing. It was going from where you don't give an opinion, where you do equal sides, to all of a sudden newscasters that you trusted were giving their personal opinion. And, as you know now, it's what we see. And I didn't feel like that was very fair and balanced, or I just didn't want to get in a shouting match. I just didn't feel like that was the kind of storytelling I wanted to tell. And I used travel as my therapy as well. And so I literally got back from Afghanistan and I said, I need some, I need to get an attitude adjustment. I need some travel therapy. So I would either, if I could travel, I would save up money and then go somewhere for a week. Again, didn't have a lot of money, but I'd find a way to make it work. Or if I couldn't, if it was Christmas time, I would use my Christmas therapy. And so fast forwarding, I quit TV news. I moved to New York, didn't know anyone. I literally took a carry-on suitcase, and I'm not 20 moving to New York. I've had a career by this time and I'm starting over. And I want to tell travel content. And so that started my travel therapy show, where I've been to 68 countries. It aired during Good Morning America, Live with Kelly, Rachel Ray. It was on at the airports. It's all on internationally now. It's being sold all over the world. There are these little segments, these minute and a half segments that I did. And they're on my website, traveltherapytrips.com. And it's kind of like pick the trip that's best for you based on what you're going through in life. So if you're stressed, go here. If you're looking for romance, go here. Going through a breakup, go here. And I thought it was like, at the time, Dr. Phil, the Travel Channel, and Oprah mixed together. So I'm doing travel therapy. I'm loving it. I'm not making any money, by the way. I get to travel to really cool places, but I'm not making any money. But I'm having my first vacations in my life. I'm meeting people in different cultures, what I had craved in my reporting days. And all of a sudden I was laid up with a surgery, and they said I couldn't travel for 3 weeks, and it happened to be at Christmas. So I had always wanted, even in college, I had dabbled with like a 5-minute script, for a script, one screenwriting class I'd had where we wrote 5 minutes. And I always wanted to, I loved Hallmark movies. I thought, well, maybe there's a way I can give back. Maybe I can write one of these. So I studied it. I watched a ton of them, and I saw the format where I'm like, okay, the first commercial's at 18 minutes. The boy has to meet the girl within 10 minutes. One page in a screenwriting program equals 1 minute of television. So I studied the heck out of it, created a story, researched the people, the producers. As you know, it's a small group. You start, if you're, with fans of, you guys have, it's like, wait, that actor's on this one. Wait, that actor's over here.
Oh yeah.
And so,
yes.
I just pitched, I tried to pitch, and because I didn't have an agent, and, Hallmark at that time wasn't making their own movies. So they were like, you got to go to the producers. And so I found somebody that had made some movies that I really liked and respected. And I remember they said, I don't even know how you got through the gauntlet that you would normally have to get through to get to me. Right. Remember, investigative reporter. So
yes.
There's always a way. But he's like, I really like this. He goes, but I'm looking for, and it was a spec script. And he goes, but I'm looking for a royal story. I need one right away. Do you have one? And of course, what any good screenwriter would say is, I can absolutely do that. I hadn't a royal story. Of course I didn't. I'd only written one, So that started, and we can talk more about it if you want, but that is how I created A Christmas Prince, which became, I thought it was going to Hallmark, because at the time Hallmark was, where it was going to be sold. And it ended up at Netflix. And the reason it was a big historic moment, it was Netflix was just getting into making their own original content. So it was their first original Christmas movie. They also weren't doing a lot of romantic comedy in that cozy, sweet lane, right? Oh. So all of a sudden, when Christmas Prince blew up, literally became their most watched, they're like, and then to All the Boys, right? And to a couple other things, these romantic, these sweeter, young, fun, they started thinking, wait a minute here. We have an audience for this. We didn't think we had an audience. I mean, I'm not Netflix, but I'm guessing this is something along these lines, because I've been trying to sell romantic comedy for a while, but nobody was making romantic comedies at the time. So all of a sudden, that happened, and I already had a couple other scripts. So then quickly I had Christmas Camp. It was a movie that Hallmark Channel bought. And then I had Lifetime call me for a Toni Braxton movie. I love talking about that one. It's called Every Day is Christmas, where all I knew was Toni wants to be the Scrooge. Okay, Toni Braxton, amazing Grammy winner, wants to be the Scrooge, and I get to create the story. I mean, with her and with the team, of course, but it's amazing. One of my favorite experiences. And then Lifetime called me the following year and said, hey, kind of last minute, but we need something. Do you have something? And then I created, another one, so another movie. And next thing you knew, I'm on the Today Show, because Christmas Camp, the Hallmark movie, and this was what we talked about. When I wrote Christmas Camp, it's my, first of all, I wrote the Netflix movie, and after you write it, usually as a feature, you write it and then it goes off, right? And you're like, bye-bye, bye-bye, hope I hear about it. The writers aren't involved. Television, it's a different story, but for features, this is the way it usually is. It was the same with Christmas Camp and Hallmark. I write it. Thank you very much, Karen. You're going to do the rewrites. You're going to do this. Bye-bye. And we'll let you know when it's on. And so I knew they had to change a lot. I had to change a lot, and it made me sad. So I decided I can write the book. If I write the book, I get to be the director, the actor, the producer. There's no budget, and I'm going to write Christmas books. And then I can also sell the IP. So like my new book coming out, I can do that and write the movie. So I can go either way. So that all is a very long answer, and we can talk a lot more about any of those things that spark interest and joy. But the fact that I knew I wanted to be a writer, and I don't think that there's a box that any of us, if you're a writer and you're a storyteller, which leads to something we'll be talking about later, but I'm doing my first scripted original Audible project, which is like a movie, hour and 45 minutes, but it's multicast, meaning different people are cast for the parts, and it's audio. It's like the old 1940s days where people sat around the radio and listened to these audio dramas. That's coming out this year.
Programs. Oh, yeah, I've heard about those.
And it's so much fun with so many people commuting, so many people in the car, so many people doing different things. And it was a way, it really, I'm guessing, probably a lot of Audible took off during the pandemic. We were all, hunkered down and saying it was hard to make movies. So a lot of movie producers, big Oscar winning producers, started doing Audible and other audio projects because it was more accessible. And so it's been exciting. And I just think that I knew I always wanted to be a writer, and I love every part of it. And I've been open. When at first Audible, I was like, I never written audio. I know how to write television because I visual, I think pictures. And even writing my novels, the biggest compliment I get is I feel like I'm reading a movie. And that makes me so happy. I want to take people into that world. But I also know you need to grow, and they believed in me. And we talked about stories together, and what we came up with. It's probably the most magical thing I've ever written. I can't wait to share it with everybody coming up this December.
Wow.
And there's a Hallmark star in it, but okay. more on that. So now that's very large overview. Very large.
Yes.
That's the longest answer you're going to get from me. Now I'll just rest.
Right. Yeah, your drive is just like, I'm like, you know what? Tonight, after I pick up my daughter from school and get dinner on the table, I'm gonna go sit and write a book. I'm like, you know what? I can do this. I need to just,
you can. We talked about this right before when we got a chance to share a little bit before we went on. And I think what anybody that's out there listening going, well, easy for you to say. No. I mean, I had to work 2 jobs to put myself through college. Remember, I'm the kid that couldn't afford it, so I had to go be a nanny. So I would get up and write before the world gets in the way. So I would get up at 6 a.m. if I had to be somewhere at 8 a.m. Lately, because I'm having some family, some issues with health with some of my family, I'm getting up at 4 a.m. And that doesn't mean I get to go to bed at 8 a.m. I mean, well, that'd be interesting. 8 p.m. That's a really short day. How do you get anything done? But I mean, I think at the end of the day, writing is a job and you have to look at it. And a lot of people don't look at it that way. And I love Shonda Rhimes. She said, write every day. Writers write, period. You can say you're a screenwriter if you haven't sold it. You are a screenwriter. Are you writing a screenplay? Yes, you are. Are you writing a novel? Yes, you are. You are a novelist. Nobody has to sell it to make you not, but you do need to write every day, or at least try, even in baby steps. So anyone out there, that's my, and we can do a whole nother one sometimes if you want to do some writing tips, and we can, anything you want to, if you have some of your listeners that are interested in writing these kind of content that you guys support, whatever, I'm here for it. Cause I love inspiring people, because I'm a perfect example of you can do it without an agent, without a manager, without connections or money.
Okay, I'm gonna go work on my screenplay.
Yay!
All right, so the tally is up to 68 countries now. Is that correct?
Yes.
That's what you said. What is the most interesting country you've been to? And because of your travel therapy TV, what's one thing that you took away from the most interesting country that you have been to?
That is, that's like picking a favorite child. I always say with travel therapy, it depends on like what I'm looking for in life. Like I personally love the British Virgin Islands as a place to relax. You can sail very affordably. People think that sounds expensive, but you can charter, and all you do is, you don't have Wi-Fi, although now I think you probably do, but you live barefoot, you can go to these deserted islands, you just sail around like Jimmy Buffett, listening to Jimmy Buffett and having a good time. It's a total disconnect. And I love that. But one that stands out, because my trips to Thailand, but it's I'm going to do like if we were in a speed round, the very first thing that came to mind was my trip to Malawi, Africa. And when I did that, and I'll tell you why, and with the travel therapy, I think it's a good, short, quick answer that really kind of drives home what travel therapy is about. When I was in television all those years, I never had more than 5 days off, because when you're a TV anchor, I'm not, one of the famous ones. Even they don't get much time off. If you're off the air, they'll forget about you or replace you with another blonde. Literally that could happen. So I always wanted to go to Africa. I always wanted it broadly, and I always wanted to volunteer, but I could never have the time. So the moment that I quit and gave notice that I was basically leaving my career and I was going to start over, and I was going to do travel and find this, I knew the first place I wanted to go was Africa, and I knew I wanted to do a volunteer trip. So at the time, this would have been 2008, so a while ago. At the time I researched, and I found like a voluntourism where you can volunteer, and that's still a way to see. And I hooked up with this group. They were amazing. And I picked Malawi, and it wasn't because at the time Madonna there was talk of Madonna in an orphanage. It wasn't her orphanage, but there was an orphanage in Lilongwe. And it's just in researching, I'm a reporter, and I found out, but I was fascinated with the people of Malawi, of what I had read, because they had one of the highest death rates of all of the countries. And, and especially with children, and a very high incidence of AIDS. And, you always heard about Ethiopia, right? You always heard about the poverty in other places, but we didn't back then, especially hear about Malawi. And in my travel, I always I say if it's a cruise ship stops there, although that's changed because cruise ships have changed. But I used to say, if a cruise ship stops there, it's in a travel guide, I don't go because it's already covered. People know about it. I pick places that you say, I spent a month writing one of my movies in Oleao. And you're like, excuse me, who? You know, it's like Oleao, Portugal, in the Algarve. And nobody knows it's a tiny fishing village, or, you know, I pick these kind of places. So Malawi to me was that way. And the reason, one of the stories that I think did it the most is I wanted to volunteer and be immersive and give back, because one of my chapters in travel therapy was giving back. I think one of the best things you can do when you're going through a hard time yourself, I know it helped me. We've all been in depression, anxiety, feeling sorry for ourselves, and rightly so sometimes, when life just can really suck, let's be honest to us, you know, this is what life is. But instead of doing that, I always try to help someone else. It makes me feel 10 times better. I had a rough example. I had a really rough morning today with some health issues, you know, with a family member. It was crappy, let's be honest, you know, and I was like in tears, and it was a tough day. And I had a friend call that doesn't know anything about what I'm going through, but really needed some advice on something silly about plumbing, right? Like something really silly. And you would think I wouldn't have had time with the crisis I'm in, but I made the time because it made me feel so much better. I couldn't really help the situation I was in, but I could help somebody else. And every night, it started with the pandemic. Before I go to bed, I have one person that I call, and we do 3 gratefuls. What are we grateful for today? And it's fast. It's like 3 things. She's super busy. I'm super busy. We don't have to explain them. Some days it's literally like that I even made this phone call. You know, seriously.
Yes.
I mean, I was able to make this phone call. Let's be honest. I don't want, you know, I'm a very happy, upbeat, positive person. People joke I could have wrote The Secret. That this is real. But I also have had real struggles. I just don't believe, I've never had the luxury being an only child and being on my own. And, you know, my parent is an only child himself. So with my dad, I don't have a luxury to sit in self-pity for too long. I got to pull up my bootstraps, find a positivity, surround myself by that. And that's why the content that we're all talking about, you know, I lean in so much because I can tell these stories and they inspire me. So in Malawi, this thing I thought was so amazing, as we were driving to a village that we were going to get to visit, there's no tourism, right? There's no t-shirts. There's none of that going on, but we're driving down a dirt road. And there's all these beautiful flower boxes, and people, it's on a Sunday and they're carving, and there are these gorgeous flower boxes with these beautiful flowers. I'm like, oh my gosh, those are so beautiful. The little flower boxes. I had just been in Switzerland. So you know how they're very big in Austria. So I'm just like, oh my gosh. And my guide, you know, who was at the orphanage said, Karen, those aren't flower boxes. And I'm like, he goes, those are the coffins, baby coffins. And I remember going, baby coffins, you know, and I'd never seen a baby coffin, you know, and I just was so shocked, you know, but the men that were doing it were happy, and there was celebration around it. And so that was the first nugget they seem so happy, you know, and I just remember that. Well, if you Google Malawi, you'll see that Malawians, one of the nicknames is they are the happiest people in the world. So this is why I went, I'm like, how come? How can they be? They're the poorest. They have one of the poorest. They have so much disease, so much heartache. So I go to a village, and a lot of the villages have never seen, even the missionaries haven't gone there yet. They haven't seen people that look like me, the white, the blonde, you know, and it can scare them. So of course, one of the villages I go to, I scare the living daylights out of my cute little kids. So I'm getting video, and they're like, ah, and they ran, and they kept saying something. And when I asked the chief, and this is like a real beautiful African chief, he's like, they think you're a ghost. They think you're a spirit because you're so fair. And I'm, you know, you dress appropriately, you cover your ankles, you know, so you're not in shorts or anything like that. But because I had blonde hair and very, very fair skin, they thought I was a spirit or a ghost. And so once he explained that I wasn't, you know, we got to hang out and all of that. And I ended up staying the night with a family. And it's just, there was like 12 people in probably a 6 foot by 10 foot dirt, you know, like a little hut above you. And it's just a dirt floor, and they all lay right next to you, just kind of and you lay right next to each other. So I'm there, and when everybody woke up, they were so happy, and they were celebrating, and they were smiling. And so I asked the chief, I said, Chief, I've read about, of course, through an interpreter, I said, I read about Malawians being the happiest people on earth. And I've seen it now, like in multiple ways. I don't understand why, you know, because so much pain, so much poverty, no running water, you know, nothing. They have nothing. They've never even seen TV. When I brought a picture book, they didn't know what an elephant was because they hadn't seen one, because they don't have magazines, books, or TV. And elephants, you know, are, you know, a different part of their country. It's just shocking. And he said, through the interpreter, he explained, he had one word like, boop, boop. And I remember going, well, wait, that's a really short answer to my super long question. And his answer was, I said, why is everybody so happy? He said, because they woke up. And he said, every day when they wake up, somebody usually in the hut doesn't. That's because of the high rate. So they look around when they wake up and they're so happy and they celebrate the whole day because they're alive and they got to live and they're going to make the most of it because they know when they go to bed, they might not wake up the next day.
Wow.
And that just gives me chills still telling the story all these years later, because that to me, no matter how hard it is. And then I took, thinking about when I was in a war zone and all of the different things that we experienced, and the soldiers that live that way a lot too. Like, this could be the last day. We're going to live life to the fullest. The ones that, I was working with. And I just think sometimes we get so caught in the minutia, things that are just so dramatic. And I just try to remember that. I just try to remember that these people that had nothing were grateful they woke up. So I think coming from a place of gratitude and how it changed me was I have that lesson for the rest of my life. And that was travel therapy. I was going through a transition of leaving my career, cashing in my 401k. So I even had money to move in the first place, making a very gutsy, crazy, some people would say, move to New York to start over. But I knew I could do anything. I knew if I put my mind to it and the energy and the spirit and kept a positive attitude, and surrounded myself with people that were doers, not complainers, and things like that, that I'd be okay. And so that lesson has stayed with me. And that's how travel, I remember I interviewed one woman who got a divorce and felt unworthy, and she went shark diving. She's terrified of fish, any fish. She doesn't even like goldfish. But by the fact that she went shark diving and did it, she knew she'd survive. She knew she'd survive the divorce. She'd get on with her life. I heard so many stories. So even though it's a really pretty travel book that has color pictures and has tips, and you take a quiz of where you should go based on your personality, it has these breakout quotes from how travel has helped inspire and empower people. And right when it came out was 2008. And that's right when the economy crashed and nobody was traveling. And so I always said I wanted to do more. We were actually looking to do a reality series. And then it turned out, it's had to go to the back burner, because then I started the travel show, and then I got super busy, and then I started screenwriting, and then I started, where I am today. And then it got quiet during the pandemic, but I just relaunched the website. That's why traveltherapytrips.com, if you guys love content. And I'm hoping to start, I've been waiting till it's safe. I mean, COVID is still a real deal. And I don't want to encourage people to go anywhere, I personally. So I'm being very careful. I'm hoping 2023, I can really start doing more, but it all comes together, because now I was just talking to a producer, and you're seeing like a lot of these, our Hallmark and Lifetime and Netflix movies are on location now, right? You've seen them in Africa. You're seeing them. I can offer up, hey, I'm in that world. I'm known in that world. I can help get hotels or airfare, or I can help scout, So I'm hoping to bring my world experience. And when I'm writing, I think in another world, if I'd started a lot younger, I would have loved to have been a director, because I think it would be so great to inspire actors and to be part of that. Right. And, to kind of be part of the creative, because really as a writer on movies, you don't get to do that. Now, so many of the great movies that I've been on, they've allowed me to learn from the director or get tips. At RomaDrama, I got to bring Jeff Fisher, who is my director of Christmas Camp, and he calls me his writer, so I can call him my director, just making sure we're clear. And I learned so much from talking to him. And on my Toni Braxton movie, there was a director named David Weaver who was phenomenal. And I got to be on set. That doesn't happen a lot. They even let me bring my mom. And we had to stand back, and you wouldn't believe how fast they shoot these movies. And I got to learn little things like, when you guys are watching and you see a group, a lot of times you'll see the family sitting around a dinner table, right? Probably the Postables are probably all sitting around a table, or there's somewhere that they sit a lot. Like there's one area where there's a group. That's because group shots are so hard to shoot. They have to shoot this angle, this angle. It's one of the hardest things. So the director said, if you're going to do a group, you better make it worth it. There better be a plot point. There better be something happening. And if we just run out of like budget, time, creativity, we're just going to sit them at a dinner table, and it's going to be a meal. So that's why now you'll notice it in movies, instead, you'll start seeing it's usually sitting around a table. I wouldn't have thought of that. I had this, it's really fun in Toni Braxton's movie, Every Day is Christmas. I have a Christmas Pictionary. And in all my books, and I know we're going to be talking about that, I include recipes and activities from my movies and my novels. And I put it as a free download. When you go on my website, KarenSchaler.com, it says free Christmas swag. And I don't do it till Tuesday, because I'm updating it Tuesday. But every year I add new recipes, and there's cocktails, and it gets bigger and bigger every year. So it's this free guide of all of these things. But here I had this Christmas Pictionary. So I had Toni Braxton, they're trying to guess. And they said it was the hardest thing of all of it to shoot. I would have never thought that. I wouldn't have known that. So those are the kind of things that I learned. But I think that travel can inspire. And, we're going to talk about the book, but quick sneak peek. This is my latest book, and we'll talk about it. But this is an actual B&B that I went to and shot a travel therapy TV segment. I have a picture of it. It's in Canada. We'll talk about it. But every one of my covers, let me just see if I can grab, how good am I grabbing one of these? This is Finding Christmas. This is a gazebo in Leavenworth, Washington, where I grew up, that I spent a lot of time as a kid. All of my covers are places that I want you to look at and want to go into. Places that are travel therapy. So it's all there. People go, wait, you were a crime reporter, you did this and you did that. And I'm like, but travel therapy and Christmas camp. I wrote the Hallmark movie, the novel, and it's all about a camp you can go to as an adult for Christmas activities. Then I created one with the Phoenician, and we had 400 room nights sold out in 5 minutes. We had 200 people. We did all the activities from the movie and book, and we're still doing it. And then the pandemic, we're going to bring back. That's why I have one of my little swag, my Christmas camp. But I had my Christmas campers, 200 people that came from all over. If you go on my website, if that sounds fun, go down, scroll down, and you'll see the Today Show. The Today Show did a story on it and then decided it was so much fun, they actually came to it. So there's 2 Today Show segments where they came to Christmas camp. So, but I think that travel, and it's hard to pick your favorite. But I want to ask you guys, because I've been nonstop talking. Tell me your 2 favorite places that you would consider travel therapy. So Kaycee, go first, because you have that beautiful background going on there.
I do. So my background is of Navarre Beach outside of Pensacola. So anywhere along 30A and on the Panhandle of Florida is just gorgeous and
I love it.
Relaxing. So I have always wanted to travel outside the country. I've been to Canada. I've been to the Philippines, because I'm Filipino. But got married, had kids, money, pandemic.
It's hard. I hear you.
It all goes from there.
All that real life stuff gets away my travel therapy.
Right. No, so where I would love to go. I'll start with where I would love to go on my bucket list. Number 1 place is Austria.
One of my favorite places.
My parents went, they were like, oh, you can come, but you're also going to be 9 months pregnant. So that's not a great idea.
Not the best time to travel.
Right. So, but I love the sound of music, and it is on my bucket list to be in the hills of
Salzburg.
Austria.
You want to go to Salzburg?
I want to go to Salzburg.
Oh my gosh,
I also want to go to Vienna.
Yes.
And I also want to be in the Swiss mountains, just like Maria. I want to do the shot.
I'm you. I sound spoiled saying I've done it, but that was on my bucket list too. And I highly recommend it. So I will talk to you about it. When you go on my website, you can put in the search, look up Switzerland, Zermatt. The Matterhorn is one of the most amazing places.
Yes.
And it's gorgeous. I love that.
Yes. So, let's see here. A place I've been to. Oh, I don't know.
The Philippines. I haven't been.
Yes. Oh, you haven't? Okay. I
haven't been, and I'm dying to go.
Okay.
So
I went to the Philippines when I was 5, and then I went again when I was 14. I was gonna go with my dad when my grandmother passed away when I think I was 20, but my passport had just expired. It expired in June, and she passed away in August, and I was like, no.
Yes, you're like, no.
I know, but yeah, the Philippines is, from what I remember from when I was a teenager, it was a lot. It was a lot of fun. It was also very diverse, even in the country, because where my mom is from, they're like the indigenous Filipinos. So it's also very mountainous. It's also very it's a lot cooler.
Wow.
It's very different. It's also the windy roads where they're, you look, you're in the car and you're just like,
you're going, whoa. Yeah.
There's a terrain down there. Yes.
Yeah. That scares me.
Yes. So there's a windy road that goes from Baguio in the north up to where my mom's family is from. So I remember that when I was really little. We only went to Baguio when I was a teenager, but that was just really interesting. The culture there, of the people. And then when you go, so that's up north. So Manila's here, and you just go north, and that's where my mom's family is in the mountains. And then you go into the Visayan area, which is in the middle of the Philippines. It's a bunch of the islands. That's a totally different culture.
Yeah. So that's like the British Virgin Islands that the island vibe. Yeah.
Yes. So it's like a lot of beach, and like my mom's family, I mean, they're fun, but like their personalities are a little more subdued and calm and just,
So not Kaycee.
No. My mom's
and
like,
not Karen either.
Not Kami either.
They're also, and they're also very artistic because they do. My mom's side of the family, they have like a lot of like the tattoo, like the tattoo
yes, the beautiful,
art
yes,
and the
I've seen
henna
that.
and like the woven tapestries, and they're very artsy. I think my brother got that side. He's an illustrator and an artist, and I'm not. But my dad's side of the family, they're at the beach. They're just like very lively and very loud and very.
Oh, they're loud.
Like,
oh, okay.
No, they're very loud. So, and the beaches are gorgeous. I remember
sometimes you have travel therapy in your own backyard and you don't know it. Like for those of us that are listening, we're like, oh my gosh, I need to go to the Philippines, either the mountains or the beach. And I think because it's your home and it's where you're from, and for you, it's probably a trip back to see family. It's not a quote as much of a vacation, like a disconnect, maybe, like away. I think that sounds magical. And sometimes I say we just have to appreciate what's in our own backyard or across the country, our heritage.
Right. Yes. So, I mean, I would love to go back to just like obviously visit family, but I want to go back as an adult because I was born here in the States. So, I mean, like going back was always for my parents, for them to like, and, obviously for them to meet us. But I was a kid, I was 5 and then I was 14. And now I'm, I'm an adult. I want to see it for myself. And, it's also that kind of like you, that storytelling aspect. I'm like, I want to write something. I don't know. And our friend Rachel Fordham is like, she's like, Kaycee, you need to write something like about a Filipino girl. And I'm like,
absolutely. Because and you can do that. And I think that's what's so important. It's finally now diversity is being honored and revered, not just honored and accepted, but like lifted up. I tell anyone, there was this lovely girl that I met and I said, look, if that's your heritage, I can't write that right now. That's not my heritage. You write it because I want to see it. And please, I think that it gives you an excuse to go, where you're trying to research. But I love the idea. And maybe it's exactly your story. It could be your story. Maybe there's a letter you get that makes you go back, or there's a reason, but you are who you are. You went as a kid, you're not really connected, but maybe you find a piece of who you are there that completes you that you didn't even know you had missing. Yeah. Because I think that's what the puzzle piece is. And Kami, I'm curious when you said British Virgin Islands, because that's one of my favorite places. So have you been to the British Virgin Islands?
No, not the Virgin Islands. I want to go to the British Isles.
Oh, the British Isles. Oh, I've been to what is the name? It's called Scilly, the Isle of Scilly. I've been, it's off. I got to do it for my travel show. You have to look that up too, but it's the British Isles. Yes. It's amazing.
I'm fascinated with England and Britain, and I'm Irish. Part of my history is Irish, and so to go to Ireland and Scotland would just be incredible. And my parents went without me.
What's all these parents leaving us behind?
I think this is a Home Alone. I see a movie, Home Alone, but only as an adult. You're really upset.
There are two other spots that would be absolute dreams come true. I would go to Vancouver, Canada. And I'd stop by Prince Edward Island on the way.
I've been to both. I feel like I'm half Canadian because I have a Nexus card, so I can get over the border quicker. And our beloved Hallmark movies, and the majority of them are shot in Canada. I don't know if this is true.
Why?
Right? Somebody told me one of my directors I work with said all of them this year. I don't know if that's true, but that's what he said, that all of them, at least the Christmas movies, were being shot in Canada, because of course, it's so gorgeous, and it's a chameleon up in Vancouver. It can be New York, it can be a city, but also there's a great tax incentive and kickback. There's a financial reasons for that too, but it's a win-win for everybody. My Toni Braxton movie was shot right outside of Vancouver. So I got to, my mom, lives up in Washington State. My dad's in Washington State. And so it was be able to go visit them and drive across the border. And that was super special, but I think even just sharing what we've done, people are watching for different reasons. I'll share one quick story that before I forget, because I was thinking this is so applicable to what we're talking about. When I was in Afghanistan, there was a bombing. And it came over the base I was at. It came over. This is not a drill. Mass casualties. This is not a drill. And I remember everyone scrambling to get in bunkers, but bunkers are just these half pipes. They look like pipes you'd see on the side of the freeway, these giant pipes of cement with sandbags, but they're open on both ends. And so people are running by and there's smoke and you're just, and you're like, kind of, there's nowhere to sit. You just go into a pipe and kind of, and I remember we were in for hours. And as people were saying, if I get out of this, okay, if I make it out, I'm going to take my kid to Disneyland. I'm going to take my wife on that honeymoon, I promise. Everyone started talking. And I've spoke about this and kind of a travel therapy version of TED Talks about the someday trips.
Yeah.
That the trips that we're all talking about right now, like a someday trip. Like I just said, I'd like to go to the Philippines. And what I encourage people is I had no money. And I remember I went to Bali. And I think, and of course, it was easier back in the day, but I saved for 2 years my little waitressing money. And I think I got to go for $800 was round trip air. And we got my little college friend, we got some place that was, so inexpensive. But that was life-changing too, because it showed me, even though I didn't have any money to really travel, to be honest, it was cheaper than going to LA to Disneyland. There are ways to travel internationally if you go to affordable places. But I hope anyone listening can hear how much travel's inspired us and how much it's empowered us and maybe spark to make that trip. Because I do encourage people, don't wait. I've lost 3 people in this last couple of years, and they all were healthy, was living the dream, under 60 years old. I mean, young people, and all of a sudden a diagnosis of a cancer and gone 3 months later. And everything they've worked for, all these someday trips that they don't get to take. So I love hearing that. And, and that's why when on this little guy, which is a good transition, because I know you were going to ask me, I haven't told anybody, nobody knows about this yet. This is the big secret, but this was a B&B I stayed at with a very close friend of mine that is with New Brunswick Tourism in Canada. So this is actually in Fredericton, Canada. In New Brunswick. It's an easy drive when you live up in Maine, it's a quick little drive over, but it's called the Quartermain B&B. And if you look it up, the picture, I should put it on my blog post this weekend before officially coming out Tuesday. But what's so special about it is there's so many memories and it was so special. So I had this picture in my head and I said, this should be a movie. So it actually helped inspire Christmas Camp. The idea that people come, it's magical, it's charming. She makes beautiful food. She's a master decorator, but it's simple. It's heartfelt, right? It's not some crazy, $1 million hotel trying to put up $1 million lights. It's real, it's authentic, and it feels like a movie. And then this year I wanted that cover to honor my friend, that's battling some health issues, and just our favorite place to go. And anyone watching and anyone reading, because I talk about it in the acknowledgements, could go there. And it's very affordable. And it's like this charming B&B that you feel like, you're living inside a Hallmark movie. Netflix and Lifetime. I always make sure I equal opportunity share of all of those. Of course. But and I think, and it's because of experiences like that, people say all of the stories, I try to incorporate the travel therapy. And so the journalism, maybe the journalism is the research, but it's still about the human condition and the people I've seen, and those all do characters, for ideas of characters. The more you put into the pot, the more you can, stir it up and come up with some great ingredients. But at the end of the day, the travel goes into the stories, and the heart of the story is just finding ways that you want to connect with people and try and tell different ways. Because somebody said once, there's really only 10 kinds of stories, and there's just 1,000 million different ways to tell them. And in a way, it's true. And I try to pride myself. I know when I did Christmas Camp, Hallmark had never done anything like that, because it was a little bit of an ensemble, for a regular feature. And I originally had it called Christmas Boot Camp. I wanted it to be like Christmas therapy. We all came because they all have issues. And the movie was actually released internationally in a movie theater. So it wasn't, that's why you don't see it on the rotation like everybody else a ton. They released it internationally into a theater. So it was actually a theatrical release. I saw it. I saw my movie on the big screen in Canada at a movie theater. And then the next season, that was in December, and then the next July, they released it on Hallmark as part of Christmas in July as their featured one. And this year, I think they had one that sounds like Christmas Camp. I think it's Camp Christmas. I think they'll take anything and, they'll change it around 600 times because they have 7,000 titles they've already used, But and so I think that at the end of the day, it's all about trying to find places and inspire. And people say, how do you tell stories? We all have stories. I mean, just the stories you guys have told me would make beautiful stories.
Well, then I have to put my last entry in as Australia.
Oh, gosh. I love it. I love that for you. I'm very lucky. I got to go to Australia, New Zealand, and Fiji. I was right out of college, and I saved for 3 years of college and got to do it. And it was amazing. It was amazing.
I would love to go to Australia. And actually the screenplay that my friend and I are working on takes place in Australia. And, we keep saying, oh, you gotta go for research.
You actually do have to go for research. And if you go, you can write it off. You don't even have to sell it. That's called taxes. And if you're an independent contractor, you have to show you were there and that you did the research, of course. But it's legit. You need to go. I say go, right?
There you go.
I would love to, but there are a couple of, financial issues.
I know it's a long way away. It's a long flight, depending on really wherever you're flying from. It's a heck of a flight. But keep an eye on the deals. Keep an eye on the discounts. There's a lot, going on. But do it when you can do it right. When I went, because it was a long time ago, you could either stay in hostels or I remember it was the Sheridan. It was way back when, but there wasn't a lot of the American brands there yet. And so we had to stay a little high end. And it was kind of my stepmom, my second mom took me. She paid, I think I had to pay for airfare and she paid for hotels and food. So she definitely, it was my graduation gift. And she also saved for years. Again, I came from a modest family.
Right.
But I think my grandparents, they lived in Mexico. My grandpa was a school bus mechanic and my grandma was stay home, and they were in Washington and they didn't like the weather. So they drove to Arizona to be snowbirds, and they thought too expensive. Let's just keep going over the border. So they go over the border. They don't speak Spanish. And they found a place in the New York Times called San Miguel de Allende, which, became very popular in the 1970s. You go there now, it's almost all Americans. And an artsy community, beautiful, a lot of people from Houston, easy, quick flight on Continental. I love it. But then my grandma goes, wait, they loved it. They spent a winter there. She said, if it was in the New York Times, too many people know. I bet if we go somewhere else, nobody knows, it'll be cheaper. And so they found a town called Alamos, Sonora, Mexico. My grandparents remember, again, no money, and next year they drove down. They're like 5'3", both of them, drove down in their little station wagon that they filled up with supplies. They ended up buying a place and they ended up living there back and forth. They'd winter there for 28 years.
Wow.
And they loved it. And they got to know the culture. So when I was little, again, we didn't have money either for airfare, but I got to go a couple times. And it was amazing how I got to hang out with the children. And I spoke Spanish because you pick it up, and I wasn't. And then years later, I took like 9-10 years of Spanish, and I always felt like I needed immersion, because I was scared to use the tenses. And when you're a kid, you just, but I had so much. Yeah, I had so much fun. So what I'm telling you both is, if money is an object, if time is an object, that's different. Yeah, family, you have jobs, that's a real thing. It took me 20 years to get to Africa. But if it's money, there is a way. There is a way to save. There are deals. There are so many different ways that you can do it. You do research. We'll talk. That's another. We'll do a whole nother.
We'll talk about that.
Yes.
But I love that we all got a minute. And if I encourage any of you that are out there listening, in my last book, which was, I don't think you can see it. Let's see, where is, oh, there it is. Oh, I'm terrible. I'd be a bad weather girl. Here, Royal Christmas Fairy Tale. I wrote that last year. That was my next royal romance after writing Christmas Prince. Different story, but my first dabbling back into the royals. And of course, oh gosh, I'm terrible. Working on the screenplay. But in that, I have what's called a someday journal. And because it was inspired by this story I told you. So if you're listening out there, watching, however you're, taking in this content, it's really fun to get a little journal. It doesn't have to be a fancy one, and just start writing your someday trips. And actually, physically, there's something about writing it down that makes it different. So in the back of this book, I encourage everyone. One of my activities is creating a someday journal. And so, and it's really fun. The Once Upon a Book Club chose Royal Christmas Fairy Tale as their books last year. It went out to more than 4,000 people. And what you do is, as you read a page, if I talk about a Santa mug, then it says open gift 3, and it's the Santa mug. So as you read, there's gifts, and we did the scroll. So you had your your little journal you could do. And so much fun. So hopefully that's so fun. Inspire you all out there.
Yes. We are, my husband and I are thinking about, what are we doing next year? We did Disney it was our 10-year anniversary, and our 3 out of 4 of us, our birthdays fall right there. So my daughter, my husband, our birthdays are right there. So we just decided to do that for Disney. So I think next year we're going to stay a little more locally. We're going to soak up our own backyard and stuff.
Love it.
I don't know, 2024. We'll see. I
Exactly.
mean,
Start saving and put a fund. Yeah, put a fund, make it a priority. Because it's like travel's is an extra, right? It's a luxury. We have to eat, we have to pay bills, and we know that. But travel is therapy.
Yes.
And it's self-care.
Yes.
And especially when you have kids, you know, you have to take care of yourself and everything. And so, and that's how we travel into stories. I mean, it's a great transition at us, how we're here today. We're talking about writing movies. We're talking about, you know, writing books. You know, writing this latest book was during one of the hardest times of my life this last year. I had the same with COVID, not just because of COVID, but my dad's health problems started in 2020 in February, right before COVID hit, and it has continued. It's an up and down situation. And so getting out Christmas Ever After was one of the hardest things. Plus, I'd had a publisher, I'd had HarperCollins, and I chose to go out on my own and self-publish, not realizing the challenges of all that would be. And then having this one come out with his next episode, I don't know how it's even here, you know, to be honest with you. So it's the hardest one that I've ever done in terms of getting it done. But it's funny, on reviews, I have it on NetGalley. If anyone's out there, it'll be on NetGalley, I think, for another 4 weeks, where you get it for free. You know, you are on NetGalley, so you can review it. And I should say, if you guys anyone is book people in Goodreads, I do nonstop giveaways. So hopefully we can find a way to share my social media, because I'm always, right now, if you get in today, I have to pick by 6 o'clock tonight, but go on Karen Schaler Official on Facebook, and I'm giving away a signed copy. You just have to tag a friend and give a Christmas tradition, and I'll be drawing that tonight. So we'll be giving away a signed copy. Goodreads, we're giving away 100 ebooks, and that one ends on the 10th and the 11th, the pub date. We start 5 autographed copies start. So definitely do that. And my website, KarenShaler.com, it's easy. If you can sign up for the VIP newsletter. I only send things out when there's something new. There's so many like freebie things. Oh, I should mention, because I was so excited, I didn't know what these were. This is a good author confessional, right? Author confession. So my books, I'm so blessed, are sold. Let me see if I can find one. Where's my checkbooks? I have some in the Czech Republic and in Poland and in Bulgaria this year, which is really exciting. So I started doing these bookmarks, and RomaDrama, I gave them away at RomaDrama. And what's fun is they become collectible. And that's because I am starting from a world of screenwriting, writing our movies we talk about.
Right.
But when I started as an author, people go, where are your bookmarks? I'm like, oh God, is that a thing? I need to figure this out. So I kind of Google, and sure enough, I'd ask HarperCollins at the time. They're like, yeah, we'll get you some bookmarks. So every year I have a new one. So this is this year.
Oh, that's pretty.
Isn't it? It shows a book. And then here's the cool part. I didn't know, but they said leave a place to sign it, because then they're collectible. And then it shows my other ones. So it has my cute picture. So if it's a conference, people can find you. And it has the others. So not only that, I asked the Czech Republic, well, do you want me to send you some bookmarks? And they go, oh, well, what about book plates? Now, do you guys know what a book plate is?
Yeah, it's like a sticker that you stick in your book.
Oh, you're so much smarter than me, Kaycee. Yes. Okay, so
I didn't.
Kaycee needs to be the author. See, I don't know why you're not writing. So I did not know what that was. And she's exactly right. So I had to design them. So I was super excited. And this is a town called Holly Peak, and it has a lot to do. There's Holly. So I'll show you. So the little sticker, I designed this. And then what you do, and so this is one I just signed right before we did it, say always believe, and then I can personalize it. So I would say Kaycee, and that way if we don't meet, and then Kaycee's exactly right, you open up your happy little book, and it's a sticker. And I guess people like, you know, Nora Roberts, Daniel Steele, all of that, they do this. Last year like here's the title. That's why the title pages are even like this. I swear that's why. And then you just stick it in there. Well, when I did Royal Christmas Fairy Tale for the book club, they had me sign 3,500 book plates. Literally, even if you do 3 a minute, if you start doing the math, it's like 78 hours or some crazy thing. I mean, I was signing.
You had a good movie.
I know. It was crazy. And you actually have to like look down. So what I tell people, this is on my website too. I've never done this, but I was super excited. I want everyone to have autographed copies this year. You know, so everybody can have it. So I said, send me a self-addressed stamped envelope. So I said legal size, right? And I have not opened any of these. I just want to show you. I just started getting them because I just mentioned them. I'm already. And doesn't this just go with our favorite Hallmark movie? Yeah, if they're signed, sealed, and they're certainly delivered. So did I do that? I did that right?
Yes,
I did that right.
Yes, you did.
Now I haven't opened them up. This one is from a foreign country, and they asked, "Well, can we do it?" And I said, "Send me self-addressed stamped envelopes." So let's have fun. Wait, let's open one live. I haven't opened one. Let's see. Okay, Monroe. We won't say the name to protect privacy, but so here we go. And what I told him to do is send me, oh gosh, look at, oh my goodness, you guys, I pick one with tape. And my fingernails, if you saw, I definitely need them. A mani-pedi needs to come my way by the Christmas elves. Right. So I said, send me that. And then if you want it personalized to your name, you know, some people don't want that personalized. So, okay, we're opening it up. It was like a reveal. I've never done this before.
This is exciting.
This is an Oliver O'Toole moment, Kaycee.
I know. This is exciting. Oh my gosh. First of all, how sweet. So they did exactly what they said. Good person. I won't show her name, but she sent me a self-addressed stamped envelope. So then all I have to do is put my bookmark, sign it to her name, put it in here. But look at how cute this is. Also wrote me a card. Oh, I didn't even think anyone would take the time to do that. Oh, it says, okay, I think I can read it. It says, thank you for the book plates. So thankful and excited to get them. Wishing you a wonderful day. Oh,
I love it.
I know. I'm so excited about this. So this is what I'm doing tonight on my Friday night. I got to start opening, and this is just one batch. I have a PO box that the Christmas elves bring, you know, because they have to do the work, of course. And then I sign, and Christmas elves handle all of these things. Actually, the Christmas elf, it's kind of like Santa's helper. Basically, it's Mimi and me, but you know, I make it sound like there's a workshop. But anyone that wants to send an application to be a Christmas elf, please do, because I need some help. I had no idea how many of these would be coming in. So if anyone's listening, I'm giving these away through Christmas. And let's say you're like, well, Karen, budget's tight right now. We can't get your new book, but we bought one of your books 2 or 3 years ago. You can still send me one, and I'll still send it for that book. You know, it doesn't have to be for the new one, because I know times are tight. And this little guy, he is out on everywhere, like Amazon and Barnes and Noble. And I always encourage people to go to your independent bookstores. It'll be on the library. It's out in hardcover, ebook, trade, and also on Audible. We'll have an Audible exclusive, and it's not coming out till early November. Usually they try the same day, but I was late. It was my fault. I was late getting the file to them this year because of some of the, things I was dealing with my family, but they still wanted to put it out, which is amazing. They really worked, above and beyond. And I'm excited to tell you, can I just tell you one little thing? I want to read the one line. You know how there's a blurb?
Of course.
So I was sharing that. So you guys know I write romantic comedies. So they're clean, they're wholesome, they're uplifting, family friendly.
We love.
Yes, my jam. Me too. And so there's a little blurb about me at the top, which just talks about I'm a 3-time Emmy Award-winning writer of Netflix sensation A Christmas Prince and Christmas Camp, the Hallmark movie and novel, comes a heartfelt and hilarious holiday romance celebrating the true meaning and magic of Christmas. Now, my little blurb is, Libby is planning to spend the holidays alone until a mysterious Christmas card takes her on a life-changing journey where she discovers a family she didn't know she had and a love she was never expecting to find. Doesn't this sound like it could be a postable series? I mean, there's a letter.
When I read
the letter, then we will make that happen somehow.
I'm just saying here, I'm like, I think we need to talk to Eric and the crew.
Let's get you in touch with Martha.
Yes.
I'm telling you, and it's funny because totally unplanned. This is a story that I originally had about 4 years ago, and it went a certain way. And it was of what we see on, very formulatic, a lot of them. It was very there was a journey, and it was what we'd see. And somehow in the middle of the family drama that I was dealing with, I decided that it wasn't enough. I just felt it's like what we watch all the time, which I love. The reason we will watch them is because we know what we're getting, and I love them.
Right.
And I still needed it to be in my lane. Our lane, everyone's lane that loves Hallmark and Netflix Lifetime movies. But I wanted it to have more. I wanted to have more substance. I wanted it to have, that's why the family, and not just love, not just a love, but a family. And so I really incorporated that, and it meant I had to almost start over. And that's why it was late. And I struggled to think, what are you doing, Karen? This is a tough year for you. Why? Just turn in the book. It's fine. Everyone, everyone approved it. Everyone loved it. Just go. And I couldn't. I just felt like it was one of those things as a writer. I all of a sudden a new story came to me, and I don't outline. And so here I am on page, 200 and something of 380, and I decided to blow it up. I had to go back to page 25.
Oh,
and it was a different plot. So everything had to be tweaked. Even page one. Oh, okay. Let me read you the page one, because the page one's super fun.
Oh,
you guys on TikTok? So I've just jumped into TikTok. So anyone give me pity. It's at Karen Schaler, super easy. And I'm just starting to TikTok. And so yes, if you're on, please tell me what I'm doing wrong. I don't care. Just comment, follow, like, I don't know. I don't even know the terminology yet, but I'm doing it because there's a big book talk. There's a big support for books. And I thought, wow, there's a bunch of people that maybe I don't know about and I could learn from. And I love my readers. So I was like, I'm totally all in on this. Well, one of the things that they do is convince me to read the book by the first line. And, we all know as writers that the first line is just like that first couple minutes of a movie that sucks you in. Are you in? And, you want something that, they always say you try to find something that's more dramatic. Now, Christmas movies, we get away with beautiful pictures. It can just be a beautiful Christmas tree, or a lighting or something. We're like, oh, we love it. But, I still wanted to try to do something a little different. So I have to just read. I haven't done this. You guys, you're the first person sharing. This is an exclusive.
Yes.
So
love it.
Excited. All right. So we know it's about Libby. So it starts off. I don't think I've ever read on a podcast. So this is fun for me.
Oh, fun.
Okay. Except I'll try to read slow because everyone listening is like, girl, you talk too fast. I get that a lot. All right. It says, Libby never, okay. Oh, here we go. Libby, hold on. We need some water.
We'll edit this out.
Edit this out. Yeah, no. Hey, this is real. This is the real deal. Okay, here we go. Libby never meant to land on top of him, but there she was on the snowy sidewalk, spread eagle, their faces just inches apart. Where did you come from? She sputtered as she struggled to get up. She'd been minding her own business, jogging around her quaint, Christmas-loving Seattle neighborhood when she'd rounded the corner and he'd appeared out of nowhere, smacking right into her. She was almost standing up again when her foot got tangled up in his leg and she was dumped back in his lap. He grinned at her. You think this is funny? She asked, exasperated. His eyes twinkled with mischief. And as she struggled to free herself, his arm swung up and accidentally knocked her sideways. Seriously, she gasped. Furiously, she stood up, stepping on him. How does this feel? What are you doing? A man's voice demanded behind her. You're hurting him. He attacked me first, Libby threw back as she whipped around and locked eyes with a man who took her breath away. He had the most gorgeous cobalt blue eyes she had ever seen. The man was tall with unruly jet black hair and had the kind of chiseled features you'd expect on a model. Libby's eyes narrowed. She was instantly suspicious. In her experience, anyone who looked this good meant trouble. Big trouble. The man, eyes flashing, pointed at Libby's assailant, a giant inflatable Santa that was now flat as a pancake from the hole Libby had put in his stomach. You killed him. Libby quickly jumped away from the demolished Santa. It was his fault, she insisted. He came out of nowhere and knocked me over. So I thought,
my gosh.
isn't that fun?
That is so
I was
fun.
trying to think of a meet cute. I'm trying to think of a meet cute. We watch them all the time. That's for if you guys don't know that are listening and watching, where boy meets girl. The
it has never happened in a meet cute ever.
Right. Thank you. And so I thought when you're reading it, you think it's a real guy, right?
Oh, for sure.
On top. And then when I say you step on him, one of my readers was like, oh, she's a little violent. I go, keep reading. So it's this giant 10-foot comes around the corner and knocks her out. That's why I said he grins back at her. And as she gets up, his arm accidentally swung,
and twinkle in his eye.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it.
So I have people that say, and then it gets better because, and in the end, she said she'll pay for it, whatever. And she grabs his phone and she puts in and he reads, he goes, Santa killer. And she goes, well, I figured you'd remember it because he accuses her, of killing Santa and Christmas spirit. And so it's needless to say, it's off to a rocky start with these two.
Okay.
So, but I thought it was a fun way to start. And the way I had her going in the Hallmark movies, as you know, there really is almost a rule-ish in all romantic comedies, not just Hallmark or Lifetime or Netflix, that if it's going to be a rom-com, boy needs to meet girl within 10 minutes. You don't want, you see one life, you see another. And this book had her really showing her life, like the trope that you see a lot. And you didn't see him till probably, I don't know, page 15. So maybe even, I don't know how it would be in movies. And it was great because you really learned about her and then you learned about him and yada, yada. But I all of a sudden, when I changed it, the whole thing, I said, I want him to meet, but how do they meet that hasn't been done? So I'm proud of this one. I'm proud of that.
You should be.
That's a fun hook.
Okay. I got to know right now, if this was going to be a movie, who would be your first choices to play Libby and Adam right now?
I know.
Oh my gosh.
picking more favorite children.
I'm going to have, no, I literally, okay, here's the crazy thing. This is the truth. So I write movies first. I feel like that's how I think. I think visual. I'm a movie writer. Then I write the novel, or in this case, this was a movie, but I didn't finish it. So I wrote the novel and I will write the movie. So that said, when I wrote Finding Christmas, it's about Emmy, and she's this exuberant, smiling, over the top. You almost a little, you know, I love Christmas. So my last one was a Grinch, right? So Finding Christmas, she's like, Christmas, Christmas, Christmas. And you're just kind of, but I wanted to know what actress exuded this over the top joy and that smile that would just ooze Christmas love and spirit. When I wrote Finding Christmas, crazy story. I wrote the screenplay first, and then I wrote the book, and then, you know, trying to sell them. I thought of Rachel Boston on the Hallmark Channel. I had seen her in some of her older ones, and just her joy and her light and her just everything about her inner, you know, who she was. So it wasn't like I analyzed it and thought who would be co-star, who would be. No, I just thought, oh my gosh, and never even thought, you know, in the wildest dreams, because this was just my second, you know, thing I was doing. I'm right out of the gate. So fast forward, a producer reads a screenplay, is going to option the screenplay, is going to, you know, whatever. And she goes, I have found an actress that really wants to partner it. She really resonated with the story. Her agent loves it for her. You know, I said, oh, who? Rachel Boston. I was like, what? I've never done that before. So I never told anyone. I don't even think I verbalized it even to myself. It was just in my like bing. So when you asked that, and then the question is, what happened to that fabulous movie? That was COVID. It was on track for 2020, and it was one of the ones. And so I'm still working to find it a home and find it, you know, the right. And then of course there was a lot of management changes, a lot of shift changes. Rachel has a baby now. You know, a lot of things were happening. But I just think that that's so special. And I know this is such a cop-out, but I want to ask you guys, because when I wrote it, this is a little different because there's also, let me read this one. Let me see. I'm going to try. Nope, not going to do it. You're just going to have to wait. But I could see Adam probably clearer, but I think with Libby, I think that I don't know. I'm just going to say I don't know yet. It's not, and then there's another character. There's actually 3 main characters, and I won't say too much. But the other character also, I have ideas, and it's funny as a writer, you think like I see the location. I can like I said, I know locations, I know all of that, but RomaDrama helped because with the Audible project, so this transitioning. So Tuesday, you know, yay. And follow along, and like I said, don't forget this, because I forget. I did this, and I've been so busy. You have to tell us who would play Adam. I know you were going to say that. I'm going to throw it back at you. Well, first of all, okay. So obviously, and I'm not just saying this because we were talking about him beforehand, but you know, I mean, I love Trevor. Donovan. I think he should be playing Ken in the Ken and Barbie movie. I think it's crazy that he's not playing Ken. Why isn't he playing Ken?
Who knows?
I literally said that to him. But anyway, I think he would be really fun in it. And I kind of go back and forth, you know. I mean, I have a couple different people that I really love because I met so many people. Wes Brown. I mean, I love Wes Brown.
He's adorable.
You can just dial him into any movie as far as I'm concerned. And because I got to meet him, you know, and because I got to meet him, besides seeing their acting, I think especially like, for the movie, I mean, I think I still say the movie, the Audible project that I'm doing, that's a multi-cast, so there's different characters. I really did it by the voice because, and I'm going to ask you without telling you, because I can give you, I've been allowed by Audible, just for you guys, the first, to give you a teeny bit. And I'm jumping around, so this is terrible. I told you I'm a little crazy today. I did warn you about this. I'm warning the viewers. Yes, and the audience. Yes, I'm always hyper. I'd love to say that is new today, but I have some things going on, so I'm a little jumpy and all that. But I want to go back to you because you guys, do you have any postables? Who do you think? Because let me tell you one thing, a little bit more about Adam. So the thing that we like, I was just trying to see if I said, curious. So what's interesting is Adam was, I'm not going to say too much information, but he was kind of, we see this a lot, but I resonate with it. He was kind of a big shot in a city. And for reasons, he decided to go back to a smaller town. And where he could make a difference. And I think you could tell where that's coming from. Kind of like me when I left the big time and, wanted to make a difference with travel. So you always bring in that. So he was a big fish Now he's living in the mountains of Washington State. You know, it's kind of modeled after that Leavenworth, these Christmas type towns. And as like the town manager working with that, his goal is to bring in and promote tourism and to do all of that. And there's all of these kind of things that he has to do. But that said, he's all about winning through tradition and nostalgia. And Libby is a social media manager. She's all about a hashtag. I love, one of my reviewers said, it's the first time I think I've actually fallen in love with a hashtag. Using the hashtag, she's an older reader. You know, she's like, I've never even thought of hashtags, but I'm now in love with hashtags. A hashtag saves the day in this movie. And so I always sign everything hashtag love always Christmas, because it's like signing a letter, love always Christmas. And so Adam, though, when Libby meets, so Libby's like filming, she's filming a clip. It starts, all of these different, I want to see. Oh yeah, that's how I started it originally. She has a Santa Kitty campaign, Libby does, and she's hired the most viral Santa star, which is a cat. And so she has this campaign, and the cat won't cooperate. And so when she ends up getting this letter and going to this town, there's this dog and this really cute Christmas tree with dog biscuits. It's a bakery, and that's their thing out the front. They have these cute little things. So the dog, which like every single one of my books has a dog, Rudolph.
Love it.
We love Rudolph. So Rudolph is getting biscuits, out of the tree, sitting at the bakery, and he's eating these little biscuits. And so she's filming and thinking it's great. Well, she's already had a run-in with Adam in her town. And he's apparently these new neighbors, it's their son. So she hadn't, barely met the neighbors, barely met him. But now she's in this town that he lives in, and she's taking social media video of this dog to go viral. And he takes it and goes, "What are you doing?" And long story, he gets it and he deletes it. And he goes, I don't want my dog going viral. And he doesn't believe in social media. I mean, he knows it's important, but not for his town. His town is nostalgia. His town is tradition. It's that battle. So he's not old school in a lot of ways, but he's come back to get away from the flash and the city and the big stuff. And he believes you can win and have success through heartfelt, and really traditional and lean in. She believes the same, but she thinks, why not use social media to help you? Why not? So it's that battle. So now knowing that about Adam, that he's the person that left, but he has a heart of gold and he really cares about his community, a lot of responsibility, but he's a little stuck in his ways. What do you think? Who do you think?
I've got 3 nominees.
Oh, God. Okay, I'm going to just hire you all to do that. So, you know what? I think it's a protectionism, but because I don't get to pick, because Hallmark, Lifetime, or Netflix has never asked me, Karen, Schaler, who would you like to star in your movie? That hasn't happened yet. And I think if I get somebody in my head and my heart, then I'd be sad.
Right.
And that's why this Audible project, I got to recommend somebody that got selected. And that's from who I met at RomaDrama, Hallmark star. And I couldn't be more excited about that. So tell me your 3. Look, I'm going to write it down.
Oh, okay.
In case who sells this, I can go, I have a great idea of who this should be.
Yes.
So the blue cobalt eyes and the stuck in his ways. Are you thinking who I'm thinking, girlfriend?
I don't know. Go ahead.
Kevin McGarry.
Kevin.
Oh, I love that. Oh,
Kevin McGarry. Gosh. Oh my gosh. And then the 2 other ones.
And remember, it doesn't have to have blue eyes. It doesn't have to have dark hair. That's just the novel.
Right. But both of these guys have really good eyes.
Oh, I love it.
And both of these guys have played corporate and country guys.
I love that.
So one of them is Daniel Lissing.
Oh God, I love Daniel. He's amazing. I love him so much. I have not met him, but I love his work. I love what he's done. I was sad when he left. I mean, I totally understood, professionally and storyline and all of that. But and it's funny because. And here's a perfect example. When I met Wes Brown at RomaDrama the first year, I remember I'm kind of new in this. I'm so busy writing movies and novels. I'm not following the fans. You guys know more about them than I do. Seriously.
Right.
I know personally when I watch, but I haven't even been able to watch the last couple of years as much because I don't want to watch other people's content and get it in my head. So when I'm in my zone, but there are certain ones that obviously stand out. So at RomaDrama was my first chance to kind of sit down and talk to people. And seeing how Wes is like with his daughter, I just thought, oh my gosh, if I ever have a father, and plus he can, is a musician as well, things like that. It matters. Of course, they're actors. They can play completely different people. The actor in my Christmas Audible project, which we don't let me forget to run out of time before I give you a little bit about that and give you a title. I can even give you a title. I'm so excited about that. I gave it in that information that I gave you guys, but yeah, that was like brand new. But that character has a daughter that's a pretty big part of our story, a very big part. And that actor in real life is not a father. But that actor, I just felt like his voice, and there's something about his persona and the way, because, you know, with Audible, it's so different. You're not going to see how handsome and, you know, gorgeous these guys are.
You have to
really
sound handsome.
Yeah. It's really going to come down to delivery and it's a voice. So if you shut your eyes when you hear, a lot of the guys are going to sound very similar because it's just like I sound like, and we all do. But there's a couple real distinctive voices in that Hallmark family that you know right away who they are.
Yes.
And they're sexy voices, let's be honest. You know, they're the kind of voices that I'm like, I love that voice. And so I went with that. And then when I reached out and had a personal conversation, which I did not know him, just from hi, you know, like if we saw hi, I just said, is this of interest? Because I'm also going to write the movie. I kept the book rights and the movie rights, which is something I had to negotiate with Audible. Audible has an automatic, Amazon Studios has an automatic first right. So it'll be going to Amazon Studios for consideration. We'll see if it, you know, fits what they're looking for. But it's a really big deal because Amazon's releasing, I think, 6 Christmas Audible stories. Audible is releasing 6 Christmas audio stories, and 5 or 6 of them, this is original, just like Netflix, you know, mine's coming out, but that's not considered. It's not original, meaning you can it's on Audible first. There's no book, there's no other, the only way you're getting the story is getting it through Audible first. And they're doing that, but I'm the only one that's called a multicast. And that's where these cast members. So it was a huge risk. They were, you know, they use authors. Usually that's what they do. But they knew I was a screenwriter, and that attracted them because it's really written like a screenplay.
Right.
And I had to learn about Audible. So instead of me saying, you walk up to the house, it looks like twinkle lights. Okay, there's no one reading that. Like, you know, you could read it. But so instead I had to Google, I spent days researching sound effects. So I put Christmas sound, crunching in the snow, hot cocoa, a thing, stirring hot cocoa. And so if I saw you, Kaycee, instead of going, hey, Kaycee, how you doing? I go, oh my gosh, Kaycee, that Christmas sweater, that is so cute. The way Santa has snowballs, you know, all around him, you know, then you'd know. Normally you'd be wearing the sweater and I would see it. So the writing was completely different. And so when I talked to this gentleman about it, it was hard. I mean, I learned so much. And I feel like my other stories now, I'm adding sound in more, like the crunch of snow or a snowball fight. I would actually pick scenes because they sounded. And one of my favorite things,
your perspective.
Yes, it does. So if you're sitting there listening too, you have to see it. How are you going to see it? So it has to be like, you know, you look good, you haven't changed a bit, or, you know, there's got to be, to be honest, I was really so immersed in the world. I was also working on a movie, a spec script for somebody. And then I put that aside and did the other, and it was hard to go back. I usually can only do one. But let me tell you, this is going to come to life. There's also a piece of original music that I wrote with lyrics.
Oh, wow.
There is, I think, 7 or 8 Christmas, such a classic Christmas carols, because the title is Once Upon a Christmas Carol.
Oh, fun.
Once Upon a Christmas Carol. And I'll be able to tell you more, but first of all, I have a huge contract. You know how these things are.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
I'm able to say there is an Audible original scripted multicast coming out December 1st is the drop date. Hopefully it'll be going, we just approved the cover, which is amazing. And everybody's locked in, all the actors. And I may have a part, which I'll have to tell you about, which is crazy how that all happened. But my actor, when I spoke to him, I said, are you interested in the audio world? And I knew he was also shooting a Christmas movie for Hallmark this year. So, you know, with scheduling and all of that. But he said, everybody's told me my whole life I should do audio work as well, because he has
all right. Is it Tyler?
I love Tyler, but it is not. But it could be Tyler. Shouldn't I mean, Tyler's voice is awesome. No.
Oh. Okay.
Can you guess? I asked Audible, I said, first I have to get permission to even say I'm doing it. Then I have to get permission to give you the title. Then I have to get permission. And they're so amazing. She goes, it hasn't been announced anywhere. You know, I've added a little couple places hidden, you know, and I certainly haven't announced the star. You know, he's under probably a strict, but I said, can I mention his name? Because I'm talking to people that it's a Hallmark audience. Can I mention his name? And I won't say anything more. I won't say anything until closer, to release. And that's why I said, maybe I can bring him on and, we can chat about it. But if you guess, okay, think of voices that audio. What do you need in an audio voice? Traditionally, when you listen to those radio newscaster, the men, what do you notice?
Ryan Pavey.
Is it Ryan?
I knew immediately when she said sexy voice, and I was like,
right? Yes,
and done.
Ryan's voice is butter. It's like when I heard his voice before well, first of all, every single one of the men, all of the Hallmark, but I don't even feel like we're marginal. Sexualizing them by saying they're handsome. You got to be so careful these days because they're all amazing. We've met them.
Of course.
They're amazing humans. And to me, that's, look at, what everybody, like what Trevor's doing with his bullying, his charity. Look what the people are doing to give back. Every single one of them have charities and have different ways that they're giving back. But when I met Ryan's also a little bit more like you saw him. Did you see him at RomaDrama when he spoke about how, like, at the time, that he wasn't dating, he's kind of shy. And he hadn't found his someone, and that every time he's in a movie, he sort of gets to fall in love, in a movie kind of way. But he's kind of shy. He doesn't seem like it because he's outgoing and fun, and but he plays that kind of reserved guy. Like if you think, I think of the dark.
Plays the stiff guy so well.
He does, and I thought, and my guy isn't in Once Upon a Christmas Carol, I go, you're not going to play type, as much. You're a dad, but he was my first choice. All of the people you mentioned were on my list too. And they were all at the top. And I love Wes Brown. And there's actually a musical component. It's funny. Ryan's like, I don't do music. I don't do any music. You're the only one that doesn't have to sing or do something because it's a musical too. And I go, you're the only one, Ryan, you're good. But what I love about Ryan and why I wanted to, it felt really special that I could potentially, when I was talking to Audible, offer it. I'm not in a position in this world to uplift another person because I'm still new. I'm still a screenwriter. But in Audible, they've made me such a great partner in the producing process, all the way from the cover to the music. Everything has been a collaboration from day one. So when they asked me my dream cast, and who I would want as a dream cast, I said, now, I know it's a huge risk because we're talking about a star carrying an entire audio, this, like we talked about, you usually get your baby steps, I said, but after talking to Ryan, before I recommended him, what I loved is he said, I want to learn. I'm all about learning. Yes, he goes, as an actor, I'm at a level, but I haven't done audio. I want to learn. I want to be taught. He was so open to the process and excited about the process that it made me excited, knowing that even if he had never done this before, and even if it ended up being hard for him, because it's not easy doing audio. It's hard. You're not using your body. You only have one thing to use. You don't get to use your clothes, your body, your eyes. You get to use none of that. You have only your voice. You have to act the heck out of your voice. So I was, I didn't realize that till I was writing it. And the script is written so different because, a lot of what we say exposition, a lot of explaining things verbally so you guys can see it. But I loved his attitude. I loved his heart. I love that he was excited about it. And then he had to check his schedule and I had to, tell Audible. And so I literally was like his agent where I pitched. They wanted sound. So I put some stuff together. I showed him talking on the show of how he's a good person because it matters, because Audible, this is a Christmas story. We want to have a whole team that's promoting, that's telling people that feel good. And, I just was so honored when he said he would do this in his super busy schedule, and it's not in his normal lane, but he was so excited. I know he's knocking it out of the park. I am so excited for him. I've got to get updates from the director and the producer because I'm involved in all of that. And they just love him. They said he's been so great to work with, but his voice is so, I did say they're going to have to loosen him up a little bit, because it can't be, we're going to have to, so we're going to see. We're going to see how.
We're going to see.
That is so exciting. Well,
so exciting.
I'd love to ask him. I haven't asked him. I know he has. Ironically, what are the odds? Hallmark starts their Christmas movies this month, right?
Yes.
Like now. So of course, our story comes out December 1st with Audible. I think his Hallmark is either December 2nd or 3rd.
Oh, that's awesome.
I'm like, of the whole 3 months. So I'm sure he's going to be.
It's a Ryan Pavey string.
I know. Well, and it's funny. I had an agent. I don't have an agent myself, but I had somebody reach out to me and they said they were interested because they said not only do you write movies, you write novels, and now you write audio. You're hitting all of the senses.
Yeah.
You know, you're really hitting it all. And that's what made him excited. And I think I'm not speaking for Ryan, but what he shared with me is that he loves to learn and grow, and he was really excited. And I think he's going to end up being, you know, he's a star. He's just going to be a star, whatever he does, because he's a good human, and he's been blessed with this great voice and, you know, this beautiful look as well. But it's really comes from like who you are on the inside. Yeah. And I really feel like that's going to resonate, and it shows more in your voice than anywhere. Right. Yeah. I mean, you can't fake it in your voice. It's all you got to act with. So I'm excited. But then I didn't get to talk to the other guys because they were on my list, but I kind of felt it out. Like I talked to Brittany when I was there because I didn't know if I could also do a female. That they'd already had a female star, a very big person that it's on Audible's wish list. Right? So it was kind of like they got to, you know, that was their baby. And then, you know, I got to suggest Ryan, and they were excited because usually they use people. It is a skill. It's a whole different skill. Oh yeah. And they usually use people in that world, but I convinced him. I said, I know Ryan can do it. I just know he can. He knows Christmas. He does Christmas like crazy. He has heart and he wants to do it. You know, he's excited to learn that space. And I hope mine will be the first of many, many things that he does. And I think it just, like I was telling you ladies, anyone out there that's interested in doing audio, there's so many opportunities. And now they send you the recording kit to your home where you can turn your closet into your own. You know, I was in my closet doing my bit. I don't know. I think Ryan probably did too. You know, gone are the days. If he lived by a studio because he's in LA, he might have gone into a studio. I haven't had a chance to talk to him. I know it was his birthday. I felt bad because we're not besties. We're not friends. I didn't like help a friend. I barely met him and, you know, got to know him a little bit and kind of talked to him for like an hour. Just who are you? What do you want? Why do you think this would be cool? Because to me, I kind of piggybacked him on, I have one shot. This was my first shot with this Audible team. Yeah. They were taking a huge chance on me. You know, I'm not one of their writers. They're picking one for the whole year and they picked me. Wow. So if I recommend someone and it doesn't work out. And it's my project. I mean, I want it to work out because I want to do more. And I love this story so much, you guys. This story is so special. And there'll be so much more I can tell you because there's also a really special song in it. And I can't say too much more, but it's going to be special. And there's a mystery, of course. Oh,
fun. Yay. We were just so excited, you guys. I mean, first of all, go get Love Always Christmas on Tuesday, October 11th. Go sign up for Audible. And do you pre-order? Is it
yes, not yet. As a matter of fact, they told me, they said, don't tell people until you can pre-order, but follow me, follow KarenSchaler.com, and I'll send out you a link, an alert when you can. Okay.
Yes. So do that, you guys. And then we'll, you know, you get to be one of the first to get the first Audible original multicast project starring a special someone's voice. So that is exciting.
I love that you guessed it,
didn't say who you wanted to play Adam.
I mean, you can't go wrong with Kevin McGarry.
I know.
Let's be honest.
I know. I agree.
I mean, Kevin does it all.
Kevin does it all.
What about Libby?
Oh, I mean, okay.
Well, so my third one for Adam was Colin Egglesfield because he's got those eyes that'll look right through you.
I just met him this year because this was my first year. I met the other guys, the first RomaDrama in Tennessee. And I love Colin. As a matter of fact, he's moved to Scottsdale, and that's where I'm currently at right now is Scottsdale. I don't know if I should have said that. I mean, I don't know if he's moved or he could be like me where he has a place here and also somewhere else. I just know, and I'm not backtracking, I swear. He told me I'm going to be in Scottsdale too. Because I have a place in New York and, you know, and go back and forth. But I couldn't believe he's going to be here. So I hope to get to meet him and get to know him a lot more. That'll be so I mean, honestly, there was nobody at RomaDrama. The way that Gabrielle, you know, and the way that Sarah curate all of us. You're invited. I was invited. They're very careful because all of us represent them and the fans, and that they are so careful. Every single human I met there had a heart of gold, and I just felt so honored to be a part of that. Yes, and getting to meet, but Colin, I think is so great. But we have to figure out Libby because Libby, I figured she's a go-getter, social media, but you know she also has loss she's dealing with, so she's been alone. So
I always think in pairs. So good. My pitch would be, because, you know, Hallmark's listening.
Yes, of course they are. Of course, Hallmark. Please,
Hallmark,
call Kaycee. Kaycee is your new casting director.
Exactly. There you go.
I'll write whatever you want, but Kaycee's doing that.
And then I'll act it. So.
There you go. I would say Kevin McGarry and Brittany Bristow.
Oh, I love that. I love that because I talked to Brittany when I was hoping. I didn't know if I'd get to also give some names, like I said, for my Audible project. Because keep in mind, I don't ever get to do the fun that we're doing right now. Right. And I talked to Brittany. Plus, I love her voice. I love her energy. I love everything about Brittany. I think
we do too.
We haven't seen them together, have we?
No.
Oh, they'd be so good. Okay, let's all say it together. Hallmark, let it happen.
There you go.
I think they'd be so much fun together. That would be a great energy, the two of them together. Oh, I love it. Yes. And I've watched Brittany go from a like a supporting character. Yeah. Oh, thank you. The proper terminology. Yeah, my mind. And she always just shone, she just glowed like enough to, as a writer, she jumped out at me always. And to see her go into her own as a main character there, I feel like a big sister. I felt like more excited than her agent probably. I was just like, go Brittany. Yeah. I just love it. Well, you guys, I can't thank you enough. I know we had some extra time today, and hopefully because we shared our travel inspiration, right? Yeah. We had all of our fun travel things, but what you do by giving us all a voice, whether we're an actor, a writer, a director, by doing the podcast, and you worked so hard and you're doing so much, and you both have such busy lives, you're sharing our stories so your listeners can kind of find their niche and connect. And that's what it's all about. So I just want to really thank you guys for having me on and taking the time. I feel like we're family, like we're all, even though we didn't get to meet and hang out at RomaDrama, now we're family.
Of course. Yes. And I feel like, I could just talk to you for days. We're definitely we're going to connect again because we need to talk about the writing process.
More projects. Yes.
Well, I love it, you guys.
Once again, Postables, Hallmarkies, make sure you follow Karen on all her social medias and on TikTok now. So go find her.
But yes.
And we will link it all in the description. And once again, congratulations on another book release. It's so exciting.
Amazing, Karen.
I cannot wait to get my hands on it and read it and dive into this. Another like a mystery, a card. It's like right up the Postables alley. So looking forward to it. So thank you so much.
Oh, thanks, you guys. I love being here, and I love, all of your listeners and everybody that follows you and the Postables. They're such a special group. I got to meet a lot of them at, RomaDrama. So I'm honored to be on your show. Thank you so much.
We're honored to have you.
Of course. Well, Merry early Christmas, everybody, and we will see you all again.
Bye, guys.
Bye.